To The Catalyst, an exciting and insightful podcast produced by Northeast Iowa Community College. I'm your host, Amy Lasik. Together, we'll explore the people, programs, and partnerships that make Northeast Iowa Community College unique. From student success stories to behind-the-scenes info about athletics, innovation, and industry collaboration, each episode dives deeper into your community's college. Get ready for an inside look at the impact of community-driven education at NICC. All right, well, welcome to The Catalyst. Today's episode is titled Technology at NICC. As we all know, technology is changing everything, and higher education is not immune to that as well. It's affecting how students learn, it's affecting how faculty teach, how campuses operate behind the scenes. In today's episode, we're going to explore some tools, ideas, and innovations helping shape today's college campuses and the future of learning. So I have two fantastic guests today. We welcome Steve Smith, who's our Executive Director of Computer Information Systems, and Jordan O'Connell, who serves as the Chair of Liberal Arts at NICC and is also a doctoral student at Winona State University. Welcome, Jordan and Steve.
Good morning.
Thank you.
So let's just dig right into it. How is technology changing the landscape of education, and what does that mean for NICC? And Jordan, we'll start with you, and you can talk a little bit about the faculty piece of it, the teaching piece of it. And then Steve, I want to talk about the infrastructure piece of it with you.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned me being a doctoral student. It was the advent of ChatGPT that was the catalyst, to borrow your phrase, or your word there, to go back to school, because I knew that education would be changing so much once we wrapped our heads around these tools. We were really fortunate as an instructional design team at the college and all across the college to be aware of what was happening with large language models and these tools and the ways they would reshape education. So it's been interesting. It's been 1,000 days. I got an email from OpenAI ChatGPT the other day that said, hey, you've been using ChatGPT for 1,000 days. So to watch the ways in which our students are learning and playing with these tools, the ways in which instructors initially were hesitant to think and consider about how much their lives have changed with these tools, to watch them really embrace these tools has been really, really interesting. And so these tools really have the capability of unlocking like personalized education, personalized tutoring, personalized instructions in ways that our community is really, really acknowledging. And so much of these tools are moving in this education direction. It's, Gemini is available to staff and faculty and our students. And there's a guided learning capability built right in. And so all of these changes you're describing, Amy, are pointing us toward a world in which it's never been easier to learn, and it's never been easier to help our community grow as learners, thinkers, entrepreneurs. So it's a really, really exciting time for education.
That's exciting. I want to make sure I come back to that, Jordan, about it's an exciting time or it's never been easier to learn, because I think that's a really important piece that not everybody sees it that way. So Steve, but I do want to talk a little bit from your end. As fast as things are changing, it also means a lot of work on your end, a lot of money that needs to be found to upgrade these things. How do you juggle that from your seat?
Yeah, I mean, that's since the technology has started being implemented in the classrooms, probably as early as the 60s, really for some early computing. It changes so rapidly that you just have to be able to pivot to what is coming next, and also trying to evaluate what is going to be the next thing, and what's going to have staying power, right? We don't want to spend too much time on something that is a flash in the pan. So as far as finding budget, that's a constant challenge. I work closely with my boss, who is the director of finance, and now VP of finance. So to try and keep abreast of what's coming next, and also planning for it out several years.
Yeah. So Steve,
as much as you can, several years, right? Because it changes so quickly. You can't. You used to be able to set up a 5 to 8 year budget, and I don't think that's realistic anymore. You can 2 to 3 as tops. You want to be just prepared for anything really.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen here in 6 months. But so how do you stay on top of what the trends are, or what's going to be important that the college has to consider? What are things that you do to help stay abreast of that?
I do a lot of reading on the interwebs of forums and sites, and also listening to what my colleagues are bringing back from their conferences or discussions that they're talking with. You know, I'm in a well, I'm in what I often call the unsexy part of IT, in that you know, we are keeping the lights on. We're keeping a really good, stable infrastructure that helps people learn. We're the canvas for the paint, right? So that's our mission there. And so to then give Jordan and his colleagues the opportunity to really paint, as the metaphor goes.
Can I jump in right there?
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And COVID was, a big test for the United States, our community, Northeast Iowa Community College. But the groundwork that our Computer Information Services Department and Steve and his team laid for us to be able to have the dynamic conversations we're having about AI, like, it was only because we were so adept at using like Zoom, which the college supports, that we were able to have the sort of conversation randomly on a Friday about, like, hey, have you heard about this ChatGPT thing that has enabled us to grow this big community, not just an AI alliance led by Travis Hunt at the college, but broader communication in my campus as well. Pathify, where we're really bringing people into the fold. And so AI is not this scary thing in Northeast Iowa Community College. It has gone that direction other places, right? But we're seeing past that at the college because of the infrastructure investments that the college has made. And so we're growing this community of people sort of realizing that the future is not predictable in the way that we really want it to be, but it's really, really dynamic. It can be really, really empowering for us and our students.
I think that is really valid point, Jordan, because one of the things, I've been at NICC for a little over 2 years now, and one of the things I was immediately impressed by was all the systems that we have in place technology wise to enable us to do some of these things. And it's really allowed us to jump ahead over the last several months as ChatGPT has really taken off, and all of the different AI pieces. So that very, very valid point. I do want to come back, Jordan, to your comment about it's never been easier to learn. I agree wholeheartedly with that. But I also think that it can be overwhelming because there's so many different things coming at you at the same time. And for somebody who isn't ready for that, you might find them digging in their heels. So how do you combat that, or how do you work with that?
That's the $10,000 question at the moment. Like, the analogy of riding a bike comes to mind. If you are sort of intrinsically motivated, want to learn, when you're riding a bike, it can be it can make sense to your brain to go slow, but like, in order to stay balanced, you have to speed up. Like, you have to be willing to kind of like trust your intuition, trust that, like, if you're motivated by this desire to learn, we're a D2L school, desire to learn, that, like, that is like throwing yourself into it is key. And my advice to anyone with these, I know we're 3 years in, but like, there's still a lot of people really on the sidelines with these large language models and then the technology that is sort of being built off of them. They're so accessible that you really kind of can't go wrong. So if you're at NICC, if you're a student, staff, faculty member, opening up Google Gemini, which Steve and his team have as we're a Google school. It's a part of our ecosystem. It's a safe place to engage with an AI tool. It's a large language model built on human language, and so you can just talk to it. And so from another perspective, it's never been easier to engage with technology, and like really, really advanced technology. So it's really inviting. It's a chat window sitting there kind of ready for you to kind of like ask a question. And this morning I needed to put my my fall semester classes on my Google Calendar this morning, just a sort of routine task. I asked Gemini to do it for me, and it put 128 appointments on my calendar, just like that. And so it's worth the risk of not knowing what you're doing. You just have to like lean in and like fail fast and realize that you have so much potential, and these tools are, again, a catalyst or a magnifier for what you're capable of. And so I'm just trying to kind of bring optimism to the conversation and trying to say, folks, just try it, and don't be afraid to talk about it too. And I think it's really, really good that we're having this conversation, and we'll continue to have these conversations with the community as well about their potential to just accelerate human progress, right? I think it's as
Mhm.
significant as the printing press or the discovery of fire, these LLMs. Seriously.
Yeah. I love having these conversations because I'm always learning different ways that I can use it too. Um, because that probably the appointments probably saved you how much time
Right. And
utilizing
it's a
that.
small thing that compounds, right? And so that's
Yeah.
why it's worth leaning in and experimenting and realizing, and it's really challenging to look at kind of the status quo and the way the world has been. And it's been sort of a gradual ramp with these technologies since arguably like the introduction of the iPhone in like 2008. But America, I'm a history teacher by trade. America has gone through so many periods of rapid technological change. Like we get really, really normalized to modern, comfortable experience. We forget what we're capable of. And so that's definitely my message to faculty, staff, and students. Like we are capable of so much more, and the machines can help take us there.
That's great. So, Steve, for those that are listening that aren't tech savvy, what does it mean when we say we need to modernize the college's infrastructure? And how does that directly impact either staff or students when they're in a classroom or in their offices? What does that look like from your lens?
Um, yeah, there's, as we said earlier, there's just, it moves so rapidly that you need to stay on top of, I don't want to say trends because you don't want to necessarily list the trends, but you have to stay on top of what is coming. And so modernizing is what enabled us to, pivot in COVID, for instance, and will keep enabling us to pivot for the next hurdle or challenge, or not even a challenge, a good opportunity, right?
Mhm.
We might have an opportunity to do something that technology will assist in, and so we have to be ready uh, with our modernized infrastructure. So that's, again, just staying abreast of what is coming and what is fading away sometimes. So we often sometimes forget to think, well, what can we stop doing since this has taken over? And so um, try to keep abreast of that.
Yeah. And, we talk a lot about modernizing the technology, but a big part of the work that your team does too is making sure that the college is safe technologically wise, right? So,
Right.
and as we know, some of our sister colleges have been gotten some cyber attacks. So, what are some things that NICC does behind the scenes to make sure as we explore new types of technology that we're safe?
Yeah, we kind of in response to one of our sister colleges getting uh, breached, we kind of really heavily invested into our cybersecurity infrastructure. We hired a information security officer, and they work round the clock to monitor things that are coming in, and that's kind of where a lot of the technologies can help. Is we only have one information security officer, and so relying on technology in those off hours to watch things and alert you when something is awry is important. Um, we are also, we're also trying to deal with some ourselves. We're looking at a lot of fraud popping up because of um, the accessibility to be able to apply for FAFSA loans.
Sure.
So we're trying to combat that, or we're using some AI in those situations to try to figure out who is a real person and who is a fraudster. So
Mm.
we are implementing some of those as we speak.
Lots of different facets your team has to worry about, Steve. We're so lucky to have you in your team. Uh, so Jordan, too, how have these technological advances that the college is utilizing, how has that impacted the student experience?
Yeah, I think you're smart to bring up some of the challenges, and I think challenges is a fair word with some of this. Um, I think about the ways in which it can improve like accessibility. at the college, students are definitely sort of uncertain about the tech. And so we're definitely having a lot of conversations, and so much of how we're able to kind of stay abreast of these tools is to continue just continue to have like brave conversations, right, with students, with ourselves, with faculty about what's going on. And so students really kind of need to be brought into the fold, right? And we need clear rules and expectations about the use of these tools. I suggested it's never been easier to learn. There's this old problem, Bloom's 2 sigma problem, this idea that like disadvantaged students that don't have access to like a personal tutor or a tutor at a time that works for them are like they cannot achieve what a student with a tutor can. And these tools can be incredible tutors. Like one of the tools available to learners right now is called Notebook LM. It's a retrieval augmented generation tool. It only uses the materials you give it. And so you can have a robust conversation with something like a supplemental instructor using your instructor's actual materials right now at 1 a.m. while you're preparing for a test, right? Very, very safe, very limited hallucinations, which is a concern with these tools very, very early. In some ways, these tools are much more reliable than humans as teachers, right? And so really, really dynamic, and it can just allow us to, if we kind of change the way that we teach, we go back to our course objectives, course guides, and think really, really critically about what education looks like post ChatGPT or post Gemini. We can have really, really personalized education where students can have not just a tutor available 24/7, but a test that really reflects their interests and their passions, right? We're doing a lot of this on the BCS side. We're personalizing education a little bit. We're thinking about competency-based education where we're focused on achievement and demonstration of learning. Like we can bring all of what's sort of working in industry over to like the general arts, liberal arts area, and really kind of make education about the learner and not about the textbook now. And so there are definitely challenges. We're definitely in sort of a period of growing pain, but it takes conversations like this to kind of like map out what's next, and everything will change. And Steve and his team will definitely keep up because we need them to.
You used the term hallucinating. I actually learned what that term meant just last week. And now I feel like I'm hearing it all over the place, but it's so true that the people part of AI is still very important because you do have those hallucinating moments as you're working
Yes.
through AI. And so I'm assuming as you work with students in your classroom that that's a big part of how you're incorporating is you're teaching them how to use AI in a way that makes sense.
That's critical. And I remember being a student sort of in the fairly early days of the internet and just benefiting from faculty who took the time to address how to use Google appropriately and like putting the fear of God into me a little bit about plagiarism, right? But like, so it served their interest and it served mine. And I think it's incumbent upon us to have a very similar set of conversations with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, whoever who's in our classroom, right? Like, because this is so new and we're closer to it. And we're the experts in teaching and learning. And so we can do the next generation a huge service by helping them navigate this technological landscape that's radically changed so much, both challenges, concerns, and the incredible opportunities, both hand in hand. Same with Google, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve, with all the different buildings that NICC has and all the expansion and remodeling and things, what are some of the projects that you're most proud of right now that your team is working on, or what do you have coming up?
I mean, certainly the Zoom infrastructure is, we're pretty proud of that. We moved to Zoom Phone. We kind of fully embraced the Zoom platform, and I think it's working pretty well for everyone. It allows just different types of communication channels for people to get things done quickly. Coming up, boy, what is coming up? It's not sexy. We have some battery backups coming. Our uninterruptible power systems. So UPS is coming up this summer to get replaced. That will keep in case of a power outage, it'll keep our infrastructure running for a period of time that will allow us to shut it down nicely and not violently, as well as let people keep working and finish what they were working on. So that's not sexy. We're also pretty excited about these new meeting boards that we're rolling out they're basically giant iPads. So it allows a different style of teaching, especially for a hybrid or a fully online course where where they can interact with the students in a different way than just a classic whiteboard. So those are two that come to mind really quickly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't wait to see what those look like. Uh, Jordan, I know you're a part of the AI Alliance that the college has. Can you talk a little bit about what that group is and what that group hopes to accomplish?
Yeah, it's interesting that I think we've only kind of had it for like 18 months or something like that. It feels like longer because we've been having so many conversations that just got formalized, right? Like 18 months ago. So we are, I went and talked to a community group one evening. We're meeting regularly to kind of talk about threats, opportunities, challenges. That group, or an offshoot of that group is, and Steve's a part of that too. We're looking at, and we're already leveraging some chatbots like through our website, right? And we're talking about more comprehensive opportunities in the future to really kind of like bring that immediacy, that experience of talking with the chatbot that really understands your specific context and can give you the right information at the right time, personalized for you through our website. So that's something we're chewing on too. I think our best contribution is sort of like helping kind of steer like conversations institutionally in terms of like policy, cabinet, even like board decisions, kind of like leading the conversation, I think is the most important thing that AI Alliance groups does. And it's the safe place where we can really kind of talk about the pretty radical ideas. I mentioned, or I didn't mention it, but it was in some of the show notes. I quickly wrote a chapter for a book on AI and education with my dissertation advisor like a year ago. And as we were writing this thing, it felt so abstract and so like future forward and so almost like sci-fi, what we were writing about, the possibilities of what could change for education. It was so backwards looking, like it is so outdated all of a sudden, right? And so the AI Alliance becomes this place where we can kind of say like, did your chatbot just remember something from 18 months ago? Like mine, like does your chatbot do this because it's pretty incredible? And am I hallucinating, right? That's the question. And the AI Alliance becomes a place where we confirm we are not hallucinating. We are seeing how much is changing rapidly, and it becomes a place to ideate, to experiment, to test tools out, right? So that we can kind of bring all of that to our learners, our community, and really kind of lead these conversations in this really brave new world we're entering into here.
You reminded me of when I was a kid and I used to watch the Jetsons.
Oh, sure.
And, they
That's been
had
coming
the
up a lot,
video.
yes.
Yeah, you'd have that video screen talking to people. And I was like, that would be so cool. And now we use it every single day. So,
Well, someone reminded me that in the Jetsons, like George Jensen, his job was to like basically push a button, which I think it's basically what I'm doing at night is pushing buttons as I'm interacting with the chatbot and like programming. And I don't know any programming languages, but now I can build software, which means anyone can, which means our students can, which means entrepreneurship is just an incredible opportunity right now. And, as a business focused college, both in terms of on the credit and non-credit side, we can really, really help local businesses, entrepreneurs, even larger businesses really think about what's next in interesting ways.
Steve, I know if we've got students out there listening that are trying to determine where their career goes, there are so many opportunities within the tech world. Can you talk a little bit about what sort of things people can consider and how you got into this field?
Yeah, I got into this field by way of music. I was a composer in a previous life, and I did a lot of computer music as part of my studies, and so I kind of got into the zeros and ones of it all there and then, and just continued down that path as something that I could really latch on to. As far as for students, I think Jordan mentioned that it's easier now for anyone to write software. Certainly not flawless software. So I think those skills of computer software, the logic, the understanding of data structures, the understanding the ins and outs of how things are going to connect together is important. That said, we are in the infancy of some AI tools like that can write code. So it is a challenge to say where will this field be in the future. But I think it's still a valid field in just that the thinking and the logic you need to say, how does this computer interpret what I'm saying, and where does it go from there? is important, and those skills are not going away anytime soon. I don't believe so. I think that's and then as we mentioned before with cybersecurity, it's critical in this time. There are lots of bad actors out there, and there are lots of ways you could use AI to do that bad acting. So that is another realm or field in which I see continued growth.
Great. Well, if you're both game, I do have a little segment, Fact or Fiction,
Sure.
for us to play along. So the first question, Steve, I have for you. NICC's computer labs are only for computer science students. Is that fact or fiction?
I think that is definitely fiction.
That is definitely fiction.
Yeah, they're all oh good. You got the graphic. Glad I answered that correctly. Yeah, anyone with a NICC credentials can log into any computer lab and use it for whatever their heart's desires. And in fact, we have some computer labs in the Piazza Library, which is a part of the Dubuque Library system. So those are even open to the public. So total fiction.
All right, Jordan. Students are already AI literate just because they use ChatGPT.
No, I have to help young people with their devices all the time, and I always enjoy reminding them that this old man is helping them with their technology. They need a ton of help. We need to help guide them for sure. We have much to teach them, and no matter like where you're at too, like you can teach someone, you can help someone with the tech. If you played around with an LLM, help someone else. Yes,
that's great. All right, Steve, back to you. NICC offers resources both on campus and virtually to help students with tech issues. Is that fact or fiction?
That is fact. Yes, we have 5,000 miles of space to cover, and we have a small staff, but a very good staff, and so we have lots of tools. We have help desks at our three main centers, or three main campuses, Kalmar, Piazza, and Dubuque. And then we also are able to help our centers, be it Cresco or Waukon, or help me out the rest of them. Sorry.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, we can hop on a Zoom call, for instance, and do a share screen to see what's going on. And our help desk staff is really great at helping with those things.
That's great. All right. So, Jordan, back to you. AI will replace most college instructors over the next 2 years.
Oh, definitely won't replace. So that's fiction. I'm trying to think of like a caveat there. Like there's no caveat. The answer is no, but we do have to really it is incumbent upon us. It's our responsibility as instructors to really wrestle with what this means for our disciplines, our domains, our programs, because we are not building for the world of the past. We're building for the world of the future. That was always true, and it's sort of like surprising how much responsibility we have now. And so we need to lean into that.
Right. Steve, how about you need to be a tech genius to succeed in online courses at NICC?
No, I don't think so. I think Jordan mentioned that there are some students who struggle with technology. Part of that is due to the ease of which some of these user interfaces and user experience. Take the iPad, for instance, the
Yes.
iPhone. It was revolutionary. That had one button, that blew people's minds. But it was all because the interface was so intuitive and so well thought out, and so that leads to some people not learning how to fix the thing that goes wrong with their computer. So, and not everybody needs to. So there are resources to help for the tech heavy courses, and certainly it doesn't stop at the instructor. The instructors are very knowledgeable, especially the ones that are teaching tech heavy courses, so they can help. And if not, we can assist where needed.
Jordan, AI adoption is a cross-departmental whole college initiative.
Oh, yes. Every instance, I would say that's fact. Yes. every instance will be different, and that's so much of what the AI Alliance does, to sort of have the specific conversations, and we're available. So if you're listening and you're at NICC and you sort of need some help, call in the AI Alliance, ai@nicc.edu. We'll come kind of brainstorm and try to help in that particular instance, because every area will be a little bit different.
All right, Steve, last one. Using password 123 is an easy and secure password for everyone to use.
Correct. That is true. Yes. Please do that. Yes.
It's 16 characters
no.
now at NICC. We need a 16
Yes.
character password.
Yeah, and we're also looking at rolling out passkeys in the future. So we're trying to make it, passwords and multi-factor authentication. We all know it's a pain, but it is necessary at this point. But we're looking for solutions to try to make everything simpler and easier. So
yes. So just to be clear, that is fiction. We don't want people to use that.
Yeah. Put up the graphic. Go for it. Yeah.
Great.
Yes,
well,
that is fiction.
We are out of time. I want to thank both Jordan and Steve for having this conversation with us. I learned a lot. If there's one thing I'm taking away from today's conversation, is that navigating technology can be overwhelming, but having experts like you two get us through that is really critical, and we're thankful for having you on the team. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, y'all.
And thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of The Catalyst.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Catalyst. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Want to learn more about NICC and the many ways we support our students, partners, and community? Visit nicc.edu for more resources and upcoming opportunities. This podcast is produced by Northeast Iowa Community College and hosted by me, Amy Lasik, with executive producer Tessa Hill, producer Travis Hunt, and graphic designer Ashley Konzen.